Alright, much Abrew about nothing time. Playing some 14 Swamp Black in Pauper. And, well, we have 1 land and 6 1-drops. Dark Ritual would be insane if one of these 1-drops was a Dark Ritual, but we'll make do. Let's Swamp and lead on Carnophage. Pass the turn. See what our opponent's up to. Evolving Wilds. Alright, we gotta pay 1 to keep our Carnophage untapped. Land? Snuff Out. Snuff Out could be good at some point. Would be nice if we could have played 2 1-drops here, but we get in for 2. Play Bonded Construct, I guess? Pass the turn. Opponent gets an island. I have no idea what we're playing against. Probably Delver? I don't know. I don't know Pauper well enough. Oh, it could be a Drake deck. There's a Kiln Fiend. Alright, we gotta pay 1 for Carnophage. Carrion Feeder. Well, let's attack with both. See what our opponent does. Opponent takes it. Let's snuff out Kiln Fiend while our opponent's tapped out. Play Night Market Lookout. Pass the turn. So we're down to 14, our opponent's down to 14, but we actually have things on board. And they don't have the Kiln Fiend anymore. Plays an island. Delver of Secrets. Still could use 1 more land. We don't want many lands, but 1 land... we would have so many more 1-drops if we had 2 lands. That's really where we want to be. The deck really wants 2 lands, but almost never more than that. I guess very rarely you draw your Renegade Freighter and want 1 more, but for the most part, 2 lands is perfect. Alright, opponent passes. Alright, Carnophage untapped. There's a swamp. So let's attack with everything. Drain for 1 with Night Market. Does our opponent block? Opponent blocks our Bonded Construct. Sure. We're fine with this if it works out. Apostle's Blessing. Alright. Well, it costs our opponent 2 life. So that we lose our Bonded Construct. Play the Swamp. Play Night Market Lookout. Play Carrion Feeder. Pass the turn. See if our opponent flips our Delver. We have our opponent almost dead on board. Actually, we do technically have our opponent dead on board, thanks to Carrion Feeder. Because we can sack like the Pulse Tracker and stuff. Lightning Bolt, alright, well, we'll let it go. So not dead on board. Does Delver flip? Flips with an Apostle's Blessing. Okay. Opponent gushes. Preordains. Are they trying to like win here somehow? Bottoms both off Preordain. Ponders. They still have a land drop, but they've used their floating mana. Leaves, oh, it's Ponder, okay. Puts cards back. Let's see if they shuffle. No shuffle. Plays an island. And passes. Well, we pay 1 for Carnophage. Barrow Ghoul. Well, let's go to combat. Swing with everything. Opponent bolts our Carnophage. Blocks. We go Thornbow Archer. Pulse Tracker. Pass the turn. So we again are representing lethal. Opponent plays Island. Nivix Cyclops. Alright, so our opponent is not just dead. We could draw Foul Tongue Shriek? Invocation? Shriek, I think. We could draw that to actually just close the game out. Our opponent can't attack here, they're dead. Because we drain for 3, opponent passes, we draw a swamp. Well, let's attack with everything. Put our opponent down to 1. We're going to lose one of our creatures. This puts our opponent low enough where they can't cast Apostle's Blessing in their hand. So opponent blocks and blocks. Oh, we lose 2 of our creatures. Okay. Down to 1 for our opponent. We play a Barrow Ghoul. And pass the turn. Alright, opponent, you gotta deal with our Pulse Tracker, or it kills you. You have an Apostle's Blessing and 2 unknown cards. Opponent gets in with the Delver. I can't imagine that they 16 us. Opponent passes. We exile a card for our Barrow Ghoul. Oh no, flooding! Go to combat. Opponent has a Bolt for our Pulse Tracker. Well, it would have been nice to not draw our 4th land there. Pass the turn. Opponent stays on defense. Barrel Ghoul exiles a creature. Oh, deck. Are you for real? Oh, our 14 land deck. Oh, that should not happen. We really wanted just one more draining 1-drop. Another Cyclops for our opponent. Gets in with Delver. Oh, we're close to being dead now. Barrel Ghoul exiles a card. There's Renegade Freighter. We'll play Renegade Freighter. Pass the turn. I don't think we can attack. If our opponent had a spell, we'd just be dead. Wow. Man, we were so far ahead, and then things just kind of fell apart. Opponent passes. We exile a card. There's Vampire Lacerator. Crew up our Renegade Freighter. Oh, do we risk getting blown out by something? Can we attack with Barrel Ghoul is the question. Our opponent's actually got to double block this unless they have something else. Because it's going to be 5. But if they have a spell, they could block, block, block. And then we're down to just Lacerator. Too risky. Alright, let's just go with Renegade Freighter. So our opponent have the 4th Lightning Bolt. Man, our opponent... Oh, I can't believe they're still alive. They had to draw a lot of things to stay alive. Blocks with Delver. Blocks with Cyclops. Blocks with Cyclops. Let's just kill the Cyclops. Pass the turn. Opponent finds another Delver. No attacks. Alright. We don't lose a life. We got to exile a card. Oh my goodness, this ended up being super close. 1 point of damage. Gut shots are in the sideboard, not in the main deck. Alright. Keep our Barrel Ghoul alive. Man, we run so bad. Well, let's attack with Barrel Ghoul. We'll kill the Delver. Play a Swamp. Pass the turn. Does Delver flip? It does with a Preordain. Oh! Oh, double Delver flips. Triple Lightning Bolts, and it looks like we're actually going to lose. Well, we had a lot of things go wrong. That's the biggest problem. We just drew our mana at the wrong time. Opponent attacks with everything. We got a chump. And opponent had a Teamer Battle Rage. Wow. Alright, well, we are dead. Oh, our opponent had a handful of things they couldn't cast. Jeez, that is frustrating. Well, let's bring in the Gut Shots to kill the Delvers. We still need the Snuff Outs. Go down a Renegade Freighter and some Bonded Constructs. Try it like that. Alright, game 2 against the Cyclops deck. Well, not insane, but we got a couple removal spells. Swamp, and let's lead on Thornbow Archer. Pass the turn. Mountain for our opponent. And Lightning Bolts. Not a land. Well, Night Market, look out. Pass the turn. That's a problem I'm noticing with this deck. You really need exactly 2 lands. If we get stuck on 1 land, we don't win. And if we draw 4 lands for sure, we don't win. Even 3 lands is sketchy. So it has the power to win, but you got to run average. All right, opponent probes, looks at our hand, passes. We get another Thornbow. Well, let's get in with Night Market Lookout. Drain our opponent for 1, hit our opponent for 1. Play a Pulse Tracker. Pass the turn. Land for our opponent, and Electrickery kills both of our creatures. Oh, goodness. Electrickery is a blowout. Well, there's a land. So, Pulse Tracker, Thornbow Archer. Pass the turn. Electrickery does seem like the natural enemy of this deck. Opponent. They know about the Snuff Out, which means they're probably... Wow. Gosh, okay. They're probably not going to play into it. Picks up 2 islands and plays a Valving Wilds. I'm a little confused. See what our opponent does with their floating mana. They Lightning Bolt. Crack a Valving Wilds. Doesn't use the mana and just passes? Alright, well, we get in with Pulse Tracker. Play Shepherd of Rot. Pass the turn. Island for our opponent. And another Electrickery. Oh my god. Carnophage. Pass the turn. So, I'm wondering, it's been a little while since this deck came out. We posted the deck tag. I've heard of people playing it. I wonder if people are more prepared for this deck now than they were when it 5-0'd. Because we are just getting wrecked by Electrickeries, Lightning Bolts. There's a Kiln Fiend. Opponent likely leaving up mana to protect it. Gotta pay 1 for Carnophage. Get in with Carnophage. Play a Carrion Feeder. Pass the turn. So if our opponent plays in such a way where we can't snuff out this Kiln Fiend, there's not much we can do. They have 5 lands. Nivix Cyclops. Passes. Well, we gotta pay 1 for our Carnophage. Play a Night Market Lookout. Pass the turn. Island for our opponent. Another Cyclops. Good lord. And passes. Yeah, I think we're going to die here shortly. Pay 1 for Carnophage. Play a Swamp. Pass the turn. Opponent passes. We get another Carrion Feeder. Pass the turn. Oh boy. We really need to win that first one before our opponent had a million Electrickeries in their deck. Alright, there's Electrickery number 3. And this deck gets very wrecked by Electrickery.